Hey y'all, and welcome to the video, and thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you for being here to listen to my ghost stories. Now, I was never a believer of ghosts until 2015 when I started having some really crazy things happening to me. So I am going to tell you all the things that have happened over the last 5 years. I have documented this stuff, so I have like proof of when things were happening. I know you guys probably won't believe me, but this is true things that have happened to me and I've experienced, and I just wanted to share them with you since you guys seemed really interested when I talked about it. So we're here, we're going to tell you my ghost stories, and I hope you enjoy. And I don't know if I'm going to do a part 1 and part 2 depending on how long this goes. I'm not sure. I could honestly talk about this stuff on and on and on, but we're just going to see how this goes, and I'll let you know in the title if this is a part 1 or a part 2. So if you guys enjoy this type of content, let me know. I don't really know what else I can do for you that would be this kind of content, since I'm telling you all of my ghost experiences in this one video. I don't know what to tell you, actually. I don't know. Maybe I can update you, but I don't know. But give this video a thumbs up, you guys. Thumbs it up. Also, if you are not subscribed already, which according to my analytics, over half of my viewers aren't actually subscribed to me, so please go ahead and subscribe. Turn that red button gray. It's not gonna hurt you. It is free to do, and it'll put a big smile on my face, so please don't forget to subscribe before you leave. And let's go ahead and do the thing. Let's get into the video and tell you all about my paranormal activity, ghost situation stories. Now, I want to say that I've had one other really crazy, weird experience back when I was a teenager with one of my friends. Maybe I'll do a story time on that because that was an insane story, situation, and everything. So maybe I'll do a story time on that. Just let me know down below if you want to hear it. But my actual real true events didn't start happening until 2015. So we're going to start there. So as the stories go and the dates are set, you're gonna notice that all of my stories kind of line up together and everything is happening within like the same month or two over the year. So it's kind of weird how like there'll be months of absolutely nothing, but since 2015 something has happened every time during these months. It's so weird. So the very first thing that I can remember is on May 2nd, 2015, I made this Facebook post that said the sound of both of my baby monitors kept going out and coming back on at the same time. I said, what does this mean? It's never happened before. I don't want to go to sleep and not know when he's awake and crying if it stops working in the middle of the night. So what it was is that I had a plug-in baby monitor into the wall that gave sound, and then I had a separate baby monitor that also had sound, and it was a video camera. So I had those both in there, and what was really weird is that both of them would not give any sound out. So here's what's really weird about that. Number one, the one that just had the sound plugged up into the outlet, and then the other one, my baby monitor that had the camera, was completely ran on batteries, and it kept going in and out. It was so weird, and that was the first time I was just like, I mean, I wasn't thinking ghosts. I was just thinking that's kind of weird that this baby monitor plugs into the outlet and this baby monitor runs on batteries, and both of them aren't working at the exact same time. They're going in and out at the exact same time. I just thought that was really weird, so I just was talking about it on Facebook, how strange that was. So that was the first time that I can remember that something weird happened. And another time, I don't know the date, and I think this was happening when I was pregnant. Nothing started happening to me until I got pregnant and I had my son. So just remember that. Nothing started happening until then. So when I was pregnant, I kept waking up in the middle of the night and seeing shadows and figures just standing there, and would just lightly disperse and just disperse in the air, like up. It was very, very strange. But there was another one that really like kind of freaked me out, because I was thinking, oh, those shadows were probably just me waking up and, you know, pregnancy brain and all that stuff. But after I was no longer pregnant, I saw in my doorway, I woke up full awake as can be and saw a full figured black shadow standing in the doorway for a hot like 3 to 5 seconds, like enough where I woke up and I'm just like, and then it just kind of dispersed and went away, but very slowly. It was so weird that I can't remember if I woke up Andrew's father or not and said something to him. I'm not sure if I just went back to sleep. Usually things don't scare me when I'm sleeping because I like my sleep more, so it doesn't really, that stuff hasn't really bothered me. So the like weird shadows, I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna go back to sleep. Now, some of these events that have happened in 2015 when I was living at this one place that I was renting from my grandmother, it has a lot of family history to it. So I don't know if like I'm being haunted by a family member or if I'm being haunted by a ghost. I'm not sure. But let me just tell you what has happened from the year of 2015. So I had two really weird events happen in 2015, one of which was the most scariest thing that I have ever experienced in my entire life, and it made me like truly say like that's a ghost. That was a ghost. That was something. It was a ghost. It was a demon. It was something. So I was on the couch. It was late at night. I think I was like binge watching Gossip Girl or something. And I was getting ready to go to bed. And I was getting ready and I put my earplugs in and I was getting ready to go actually in my bedroom to go to sleep. I don't know why I had put my earplugs in already because I sleep with earplugs. So I had my earplugs in already. And you know how it is when you have earplugs in, things are kind of mumbled. Well, my son Andrew had woke up in his crib. He's only like 8 or 9 months old at this point, I think, because it was October or maybe end of September, October of 2015. And I go in there into his room, to his crib, and it's about 3 or 4 in the morning. And I'm just like, oh, I'm just like, comforting him. And he's still laying there. And don't get mad at me when I say this. Don't get mad at me. I'm sorry. I heard the closet. Now, the whole entire wall was like closet doors that would do this on a track. So they were closed and I heard this loud noise of everything like falling in the closet, and I looked over like, oh my god, things are falling in the closet, and the doors were just bulging out in the middle because they go like that, and they were bulging out like so loud that I thought somebody was in the closet like trying to get out. And it was a stuffed closet, like stuffed up with like baby stuff, and I thought somebody was in the closet and knew I was in that room and was trying to open the door up and couldn't figure it out and like fell or something because the doors just bulged, like hardcore bulged out. And I freaked out. I flipped my crap, okay? I ran out. I know, I'm a bad parent. I'm sorry, okay? I ran out and I got Andrew's father and I said, I think there's someone in his closet. Come right now. So he grabbed his gun. He always kept his gun on the nightstand. And I know, but it was locked up. It's fine. So he grabbed his gun, and we live in the South, guys, okay? So he grabbed his gun and went to the bedroom, and literally nothing. Absolutely nothing. The closet was not bulged out. Nothing in the closet fell. Nothing. Not anything. And I was just like, what? I was like so scared and so freaked out that the closet literally was bulging out, like the doors were bulging out. Heard stuff fall and stuff like that, like loud bangs of things just falling and the doors bulging, and nothing was moved. The doors were not bulged out anymore. It was the craziest thing in my entire life. Like I just heard the sound of the mumbled everything falling, and then Andrew crying right before that, me going in there. I like, seriously, it was scary. So that's the first thing. So that one really got me really good. And then a little bit after that, I actually left Andrew's father. So he moved out and I was by myself. Well, I took this video of Andrew. He kept running into the living room, out of his room, and every time he would go back in his room, he would like talk, like he's talking to somebody. And what's really creepy is that Andrew was in the living room initially, so his bedroom door was open. It was nighttime and there was no light on in his room whatsoever. There was just the lamp in the living room and the TV, so it was pretty dark. So he, I guess, was comfortable enough running from the living room to his bedroom, and then he was like jabbering, talking, and then he was running out of his room, looking behind him, laughing like somebody was like playing with him and chasing him, and then he would like stop and look, wondering like, why whatever who was chasing him wasn't coming anymore. And then he ran back in his room, was kind of talking, would run back out, looking behind him, laughing like somebody was chasing him, stopping and then going back in there. Let me see if I can find that, if I screenshotted that post from my Facebook, and I can give you like an exact date. Okay. It was, oh no, this was 2016, so scratch that, that wasn't 2015. This was March 29th of 2016. I had the video and it says he's been doing this for like 3 minutes. He stops in the doorway and talks in his dark room, then runs away, then goes back and talks some more. Yeah, and he was like running out, giggling and looking. So I'll just put it like a screenshot up on here so you can kind of see this happened March 29th. So I'm gonna start writing this stuff down so I can remember this. Okay, we're gonna do that so we can kind of keep tabs on the dates. So that was what was really strange. And then I don't have the post of this. I couldn't find it. I was just searching like relative things like ghosts and stuff on my Facebook so I can screenshot the times. But something else that happened in 2016 is the baby monitor. I was waking up and I was rolling over and I was just kind of like waking up. I was laying there and then all of a sudden I heard my grandmother's voice, and she has a really distinct like raspy smoker's voice, and she was like, "Hey baby." That's how she would say hey baby to Andrew. She would hold him and go, "Hey baby." I heard that clear as day come out of that baby monitor, and I whipped over and I looked at the camera, and Andrew was just laying there and moving around or something. I don't know. He was just laying there, and I was just like, that is crazy. I 100% heard my grandmother's voice. So then I was like, okay, maybe it's just my grandmother, because she had recently passed away 2 months prior in January, because this was like March. And I was like, yep, it has to be my grandmother. That's what it is. But she wasn't dead yet in 2015, so then that doesn't make any sense. But I don't know. But anyways, so that was the only weird things that happened to me in those years living in the place that I was living. And then I moved out at the end of 2016, October of 2016. I moved out and moved back in with my parents for 6 months so I could save money up and buy a house. And then after, I bought a house, it's May 12th, 2017, I bought my home, and that's when things started to get very wild, let me tell you. Okay, so I bought my house on May 12th, 2017, and it was, I forget the exact date, but it was the May 13th was the first thing. I was in this room, and since this was like an extra room, I just had boxes, storage, and all this stuff in this room. Like, this was not a makeup room, this was nothing. It was just, I put my elliptical in here, all my boxes, and then would take stuff out and put it away. So I was standing in this room, no windows are open, and I heard this male voice, clear as day, very clear, and I was like, that's weird. It was like a few words, but I distinctly heard yeah. It was like, no, yeah, no. Like, that was it. And it was just me, my son, my boyfriend, and my brother home. Or maybe my son wasn't here, I'm not sure. But it wasn't them, because they were like out there and I was in here, and it was not their voice whatsoever. So I was just like, that's kind of weird. And so later on, hours later, I'm in the living room sitting, and Chris, my boyfriend, came into the living room from back here, and he was like, you know what's really weird? I just thought I heard some man talking. And I was just like, did you seriously? Because I was already like, that's weird, because I heard some man talking. And I was just like, that is so weird that he also experienced somebody talking. And then I did too, but I didn't say anything. So when he said something, I was like, huh. Anyways, and then it was here on May 17th of 2017 that I said, I'm not lying when I say our house is haunted by a male ghost. And what happened on this day was another completely insane thing that I have ever experienced in my entire life. Like, ever. So a lot of the storage and boxes have been taken out, and I have my little makeup area by the window, and I'm getting ready for work, and it's just me and Andrew home. It's about noon or so, because I would go into work at 2 in the afternoon. So I'm sitting here and I'm putting my makeup on, and I hear Andrew walking up the hallway with like a toy truck. And as he's coming up the hallway, because I have a really long hallway, as he's coming down the hallway, getting closer to this room, and I had my door open, I was hearing whistling. And not just like whistling, but like a song, like whistling a song. I would do it, but I cannot whistle like do 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 do. You know how you whistle a song, like a tune? Well, I was listening to it that whole time, like this tune, and he was just pushing this car. It didn't have sound effects or anything like that. So I thought it was so weird that this loud whistling song tune was, you know, I didn't think anything of it for like the first few seconds, because Chris, my boyfriend, always whistles in the house. He's always whistling some kind of tune, so it was just kind of like, I'm used to hearing it. But then I realized when I was doing my makeup, after like a few seconds of when he's walking up and I'm hearing that, I froze to death. I was like, nobody else is home? Who is that whistling? Who is whistling? It's not Andrew. My son was 2 years old at this time. He can't whistle. And I got up. And it wasn't his car. It wasn't his toy car. It didn't make noise. It was nothing. And it was this loud whistling tune. It was so scary, and I was just like, oh my god, this house is haunted. It has to be. I heard a male voice a few days prior, now whistling that sounds like it came from a male. This house is haunted. I was convinced. So then it was the next day that I was waking up, and every time I would wake up, I would go in the living room and turn the TV on for Andrew and go over to the corner of my kitchen to make coffee, because that's where I had my Keurig at the time. And what was really weird is that you can't see, the TV is sitting like this. How can I explain this on camera? The TV is here, and you would have to walk over here to the kitchen, so I can't see the screen on the TV. So I turned the TV on, and Sports Center was on, and I changed it to HGTV because Andrew wasn't quite awake yet. And as soon as I walked over there to start making my coffee, it went from HGTV back to the Sports Center channel, and I was just like, okay. I walked back over there and I turned it back to HGTV. Walked back over to my Keurig. As soon as I started messing with it, it changed back to the Sports Center channel, and I was like, this is so weird, what the heck? And then I walked over there, turned it back on HGTV, walked back over, and it changed back to Sports Center. And at that point, I was like, okay, there's no way that this is the cable box messing with me. It's gotta be this freaking ghost that was whistling and talking in my house the other day. So I was just like, screw it, and I went ahead and turned it to Paw Patrol, and it didn't do anything again. So then I got in the shower and went about my day. So here's a little backstory on my house to kind of explain what had happened. So I bought this house from a sister who also had another sister that lives in the house next door. How do I explain this? Okay, so there was a sister living in this house, and then there was a sister living in that house, and then they shared this driveway. And this house was, how do I better explain this? Okay, so there's this house, and then there's another house next door to it, shared by a driveway. I bought a house from one of the sisters, and they were selling the other house as well, because they were both going to move in together somewhere else and just to get rid of this property. And this was the only family that had ever lived here, bought the property before, and all of that. So the other sister was still in the process of selling her home. So I actually went over there and talked to her, and these were older women. So I was just like, have you guys ever had anything strange happen here? And she's like, what do you mean? I said, well, I heard a male voice and then the whistling, and then I thought it was really strange about the TV. And I was like, did anybody die here? Like, did anybody pass away? And she said no, and not that she knows of that her sister murdered anybody. And I was just like, you know, and I don't know, it was just really strange. And let me just say this, both of these sisters were colored. They were African American, and remember that when I get to another story. So they were both African American, and yeah, so she said that her sister would hear voices all the time in her house, that it was just the neighbors on the other side of the woods over here, and the voices just carry in here really well. Well, I can tell you right now, since I've been living here for 3 years now almost, I do not hear anybody's voices inside my house. So if she was hearing voices, she was hearing ghosts, okay? Because I do not hear any of my neighbors ever. My neighbors over here can have a party or whatever, or be outside, and I don't hear them in my house, okay? At all. And so that lady was hearing ghosts because she was not hearing any neighbors from over there across the way through the thick woods, if I can't even hear my neighbors from over here. So I'm just saying. So I know nothing really happened at all after that, like nothing that was like, you know, really crazy until October of 2017 when I experienced something very strange. Let me write this down, October of 2017. So my boyfriend was over at my best friend's house. His name is Chris. He just lived right around the block at a party. So it was just me and my brother home. My brother was already asleep in his room, whatever, and I was in my bedroom, which is at the very end of the hallway, and I had the door kind of cracked, and I was sitting there, I was eating popcorn, I was watching the movie Jennifer's Body, and all of a sudden I just saw in the corner of my eye like somebody walking up the hallway, like a shadow walking up the hallway, because when somebody's walking down our hallway, you see their shadow first, and it just, you know, yeah. So anyways, I was just seeing in the corner of my eye, and I thought it was my brother walking, you know, to come see what I was doing in my room. And I'm just seeing this shadow come walk down the hallway and then stop. And it just kind of went away. And I was just like, I froze for like a second, and I got up and I looked. It wasn't my brother. My brother was asleep in his room, okay? And I was freaking out. I texted my boyfriend. I'm like, can I pick you up now? Because, or can you come home? Like, I need you home. Because I saw this shadow and I'm freaking out. So eventually he came home. Somebody brought him home. So I was like, thank God. Because I was like freaking out. Because that was the first time anything had happened in months where I physically saw a shadow walking up the hallway, and I was losing my nutsack, okay? I was losing it. So that happened, and then it wasn't until November that my sister and my niece experienced it. Okay, so it was November 16th of 2017 that my sister and my niece both got to experience my ghost, and I felt so relieved that somebody else experienced this, because I almost thought that I was going crazy because like no one believed me, and plus like I wasn't really a believer. I didn't believe in ghosts. I thought it was kind of weird until things started happening that didn't really explain anything. So when they saw the ghost, I was like, ugh, I was so happy. You have absolutely no idea how happy I was when they experienced it. So I put on Facebook, Carrie Barbie Nelson, that's my sister, finally saw the ghost in my house. Glad I'm not the only one. So here's the backstory. Her daughter, my niece, she was 15 at the time, and this is kind of a little backstory to why I haven't really done anything with this makeup room. So she lived with me for a little over half a year, and she lived in this room. This was her room for a while. So she was here, and I know my sister had come over, my sister Carrie had come over to watch my son. I think he was sick and I was at work, so she watched him, and then my niece Tori came home from school, all this stuff. And it was not long after I had gotten home that I was like, oh, I have to poop. So I went to the bathroom and I was pooping, minding my own business. Andrew was in his room, sick, covered up, just chilling in his room, not feeling good, staying in his room. And anytime my boyfriend would come home or my brother would come home and would come up the driveway, Andrew would run down the hallway or wherever he's at and run to the back door, open it, and go outside. And we didn't want him going outside because it was really cold out. He was sick. He didn't need to be up and running around and whatnot. So as I'm in the bathroom, Andrew's in his room, and my boyfriend Chris comes home. The way I had the couches set up was the couch was back to, it was like this. It was like this couch against the wall, this couch against nothing, and like the table in the kitchen was behind there. So they heard the feet running down the hallway, and my sister saw behind my niece because she was sitting at the couch that was facing the kitchen. So she was here, and then the kitchen was behind her, and my sister was here. So she saw the little head of Andrew bobbing like he's running behind the couch going to the back door. She gets up because she's like, no, you can't go outside. So she gets up off the couch to go get him so he doesn't open the back door, and nobody's there. And I had just gotten out of the bathroom and had just looked over to check on Andrew, and he was still in his bed. They were just like, oh my God. And then they told me about that they heard, you know, somebody running. They thought it was Andrew running down the hallway, saw the little head bobbing and going out, trying to go out the back door. And they freaked out, and I freaked out. But then I was also relieved that somebody else saw something really strange, and I was just like, there we go. I'm not the only one. Glad that it happened to somebody else, you know, that kind of thing. So that was November of 2017.